All right, welcome everybody to the January edition of the Disability Ministry Video Roundtable from Key Ministry. My name is Beth Golick and I am from Key Ministry, and I'm joined by Catherine Boyle, who doesn't have her camera on at the moment. Oh, there she is. Okay, red background. So Catherine Boyle is our Director of Mental Health Ministry. So our topic today is practical ideas for sensory-friendly worship services. So just out of curiosity, show of hands or hit your little raise hand button. Did anybody either catch the podcast episode that aired last Thursday or read the blog post that Key Ministry posted last Thursday on this topic? Anyone? Okay. All right. So good, then this might be new information. No. I'm just really excited to talk about this topic. I have lots of questions. I have some ideas to share, but I think you all are going to be the experts here. So let's start just with kind of a question. When you hear sensory-friendly worship service, what does that mean to you? Would anybody like to start us off that way? Anyone? Yes, Barb, thank you.
When I hear it, my initial thought is that it's a separate worship service that's for the community's invited to. But then when I think about it more, I know that the goal is that this is what it's for every Sunday.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I land too, Barb. And I know that there are some churches that are doing this really well. Like, this is what your worship services look like. When you hear the term sensory friendly, so maybe not just in a worship service, but the term sensory friendly, what kind of things does that make you think of? Like what elements, what makes something you could label sensory friendly? Amy T.
The smell, not so strong perfume, a place where you can sit where you're not going to be overwhelmed.
Okay. All right. So maybe it's like a section or something where it's like a fragrance free.
Fragrance free, that's it.
Okay. All right. Let's see who we have. Beth.
I think ideally the lights would be on, or if it's nighttime, the lights would be on lower. The music is lower. People have the expectation that people are going to make noises, and they may not be your typical worship noise.
Okay.
That people will be moving around as well as needed.
All right. So I'm hearing a lot of things. Beth just said a lot of things. So she mentioned sound, she mentioned light, and she mentioned kind of the expectation. So that there may be movement that you wouldn't see at a quote typical worship service or whatever we're talking about. There may be, vocalization that you might not normally experience. Okay, thank you. What else when you hear sensory friendly? I mean, in any arena, not just in a worship service. I'm looking around. Any hands raised? Okay, and how about do you see the teaching being any different in sensory friendly? And I'm air quoting for the people that can't see my screen. Seeing a couple nods. Yeah, Josh, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, sorry. So I work with both kids and youth. And is this focused on the kids or youth?
I'm just saying, okay. Whatever, when the term sensory friendly, what does that mean in any?
All right, that's helpful. Not a lot of spoken words, just like people with processing issues or just lots of individuals, like too many words shuts them down. So that's the first thing that comes to mind with the teaching part. Just like keep it short, keep it concrete, just get at it and don't talk too much.
Okay. Yeah, Beth.
I guess that would just tag on what Josh was saying, just kind of multi-learning
Mhm.
styles. So incorporating music, incorporating language, visuals, kind of a little bit of everything. So you're tapping into potentially everyone's way of learning.
Okay, so in these instances, I'm hearing that sensory friendly is, yes, it's to help individuals who maybe have sensory processing disorder, but we're kind of expanding it a little bit to include maybe folks who need more time processing information, and we're reaching different types of learners. So maybe the kinesthetic learner, maybe we're doing motions, those that learn best visually, through auditory. So it's incorporating different learning styles. Okay, thank you. Barb.
When I hear the term, what I think of is that the people who planned the lesson or the event planned it initially with the thought of the lens, looking through the lens of disability and universal design to adapt the environment to everyone, instead of how we typically see we have adaptions for people with differences to adapt to the typical. So that's, for me, it has to do with intention when you're planning.
Okay, I love that. So kind of flipping it upside down. So instead of how can we make accommodations for the few, how can we start that way, and then that way everybody can benefit.
Yeah, like the sensory friendly, they may intentionally have lower volume, whereas on the flip side, and when they're not looking through lens of disability, they may just have some noise canceling headphones available for people to adapt to their environment. So to me, it's like how you're looking at it.
Yeah, that's a really good concrete example. Thank you, because I think wasn't our title something like practical strategies? There's a practical strategy right there, folks. Yes, so instead of giving some people headphones because the volume is really high, why don't we bring the volume down and to accommodate more people? Okay, I like that. What else? That made me think of something else, but it's already left my mind. Oh yeah, I remembered. Okay. I tend to group this in, and I'm not sure if it's appropriate or not, but when I think sensory friendly and we start thinking about some of these other little small things we can do that accommodate a few but really can benefit all, having some kind of like schedule, like a posted order of service or an explanation of what's going to happen next, a timeline, maybe something that visually shows or explains things that are like unusual in the service, that can really help folks who maybe have anxiety or some other hidden disabilities, but again, it can benefit everybody. So that's one that I kind of lump in. It's not necessarily a sensory thing, but a sensory friendly service in my mind. I lump that in there as well. Anything else?
I think,
Yeah, Doc. Oh no, who? Oh, Alan, hey.
I think, for example, as a blind person, there are often multimedia things that are going where there's no words.
Right.
And so they're showing a video clip as either part of a sermon or as part of an announcement or something like that. And there's no audio to describe what's happening on that. Or announcements may be posted on screens ahead of time, and therefore there's no awareness of, so there's no way of getting those announcements. And so some of those accommodations. So when you mention about having something printed out ahead of time or something, that there is something available to accommodate different abilities.
Yeah, that's a really good one, and it could be. And Alan, maybe you have some good examples of how churches have done this well, but maybe it's even like a website that you go to and your screen reader can read off what the announcements are, that type of thing. So thank you. That's a really, really good example. And then let's go ahead and flip that. But what if somebody can see, but they can't hear?
Right.
What about captions on a video? So that's, yeah, so those are a couple examples of you know, things that can be put in place to help a variety of disabilities. Doc, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, so, and I apologize, I was a little late joining. Did you talk about lights or anything
Well,
yet?
we mentioned them, but we haven't actually talked about them yet. So why don't you kick us off?
Okay, so lights is another big thing, you know, so many, whether you're in the main worship or even like the kids worship, lights tends to be a big part of everything anymore. So one way that we can help make it easier for everybody is make sure the lights aren't flashing into the crowd, into the audience. So many times, you know, they're trying to give this concert feel and have these bright lights flash into the crowd, and it's painful for a lot of people. I hate having the bright lights
Me too.
shine into my eyes. And for some of our friends, it's really painful. So, you know, just having it, if you want it to swirl around, just do it on the stage, just do it on the musicians with that, or just on the backdrop, whatever you have. That would help welcome for everybody. Other thing that you can offer then for our friends who are sensitive to that, just like we offer the headphones to our friends who need help with the noise, go to the dollar store and buy up a bunch of dollar sunglasses and let them wear these dollar sunglasses. They love it. They think it's pretty cool that they get to wear sunglasses and worship and church. And they really do a great job at cutting down the light and of that exposure. So just, you know, having a stash of those that really works well at helping the kids through that.
So I actually learned something in preparing for last week's podcast episode. I learned something about lighting from our AV guy here at church. So oranges, yellows, ambers, that's a much better hue to use. The blue can be very jarring. So
Yep.
you know how we've been learning lately about how the blue light, the computer, like how it's causing problems for people. That's the whole blue light thing. And so I thought that was really interesting. So there are certain hues that are more like acceptable or
Pleasing.
anyway, so I thought that was kind of interesting. And then, you know, my mantra is hashtag never strobes, right? Let's just not use them. Yeah, anything else on lighting while we're at it? Oh, I have something else on lighting. So I think we can also avoid, and this I think goes for like anything, but let's avoid pitch black, like especially for the house lights, like for in your seating section, because if somebody, I don't care who it is, needs to get up and move around, it's kind of unsafe if they can't navigate an aisle or a pew or whatever, if they can't see what's going on. So there's my little tip for you there. All right, I'm looking around to see if any hands are raised. Would anybody be willing to share a little bit about what your church is doing, especially if what you're doing pretty much would be considered sensory friendly, like for everyone, or if you're doing some kind of standalone sensory friendly service? Would anybody be willing to share?
Can I back up and ask a question since nobody's responding to that?
Yeah, absolutely, Alan. And then Amy, I'll call on you next.
What, how have you found it acceptable to even present this to the leadership of a church? Since often the music choice or the lighting choice or whatever these sensory accentuated patterns are usually designed shall I say, marketing. And therefore, we're appealing to a demographic or a majority population, and therefore we choose
I'm fine. How are you?
loud music. We choose lighting patterns to make it exciting or whatever the case. How do you reverse that mentality?
Okay, that is such an excellent question. So let me really quickly, let me ask if Tina or Amy, because I know you both have your hands up, are any of those in response to this question? No. Okay, so we're going to hold on to Amy and Tina's questions because let's talk about this. So already in the chat, we're hearing, well, you start a new service with a ha-ha after it, but that is one way to do it. So yeah, let's kind of dive into this what Alan brought up, because I think this is really excellent. So I do have some thoughts on this, but I do want to hear from others. What are ways you can just make this part of what you do? Sylvia, let's hear from you.
All right, sorry, I had to find the buttons. Basically what I did in my church, we have department heads, departments that handle various components of our service or whatever. And I tried to meet with the department heads to do a mini training on special needs and the different concerns I have about embracing and making the service more inclusive and explaining to them different problems that individuals with special needs may have when they come into the larger worship service. Like explaining to the music department that the flashing lights, the strobe lights, and the smoke.
Oh, the smoke.
Doesn't
We
work.
didn't even talk about the fog machine. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't work for me. As a semi-neurotypical, and I say semi-neurotypical because I believe that there are some issues going on here, which is why I work with individuals with special needs. But to really explain, not just that this is what I think should happen, but this is the reason why it should happen, which is the same reason why you would want to respect someone else, to respect what you, and going back to the conversation initially, that we don't want to just modify the environment to invite them into, but we want to invite other people into their environment, right, to see what that is like. So that's basically what I do at our church, is just meet with each of the department heads and explain to them the reason why I am suggesting certain things.
Okay, thank you. So you are kind of advocating within, that's not, but you're like educating and making the different department heads aware of, because you're only, you know what, you only know what you know, right? So they may have no idea that there are individuals who are unable to be in the worship space because of lights and fog or whatever.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
Thank you. Barb.
Personally, I think the way to approach culture change in church, no matter what the culture change is in addition to what Sylvia said, which is super valuable with the education of the different leaders, is going back to identify who are the people of influence in your church that agree with you on something and bringing them into the decision makers. So it isn't just saying, this is what I think, and this is why it would be nice. It's saying people who people listen to. And that's how I feel like you build that team, almost like a movement, by doing that.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Hearing voices, not just our voices all the time, I think can be hugely influential. I also think that when the decision makers have the opportunity to witness true inclusive worship in action, they're going to take notice. And so even though, Josh, I know you were like, haha in the chat, but if leadership has the opportunity to attend, if it's a separate sensory friendly worship service and see how some of those little accommodations or adaptations can make a huge difference in the opportunity for people to fully participate. I mean, we were all designed to worship. And if there are people that can't come into your worship space because of sensory issues, of course, they're missing out, but so is your congregation. I mean, so is the body of Christ, so is your church family. So being able, yes, they need to hear about it from us, but if they can hear from others who get to experience this, or if they can themselves experience it, the leadership can experience it, that can be huge. Beth B has put in the chat that they've added a pop-out church for those that would benefit from hearing the sermon in a different developmental level. That's cool. I like that idea too. All right, we can always come back to this because I think this is a huge topic. I mean, this is this is probably why a lot of us are here. Like, okay, how do we actually make this happen? But I want to get to, we have Amy T and then Tina. And yes, Lauren, I'll answer your question in a second, Lauren.
You had asked if our churches were doing anything.
Yes.
So here, we're moving slowly, but we are doing things.
Okay.
And it's because the ministry is here and because it's an every week thing. So I've noticed that we did a movie night in December, 2 movie nights, and they brought me in and they made sure that the closed caption was playing underneath the movie. I've had them come in and ask, are these lightings going to be okay? Would this work? So I see them slowly moving toward it. There's a whole lot more that could be done, but they're moving in that direction. We also have, and I don't know that this would work for everybody, but we had what was originally called the cry room. And we've changed it to a family room. And we've put couches and weighted dogs and all kinds of stuff for them. And there's things on the tables that say, this is an area fragrance free, wiggles are accepted, movement, but it's a place for them to be a part of it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm trying to write this down so I don't forget, because you said 2 things that I want to reiterate. Okay, that was another one. What was the first? The first one was, oh yeah, okay. So here's what I love about what's happening at Amy's church. Church-wide events. So these are not events that the special needs ministry, and I'm air quoting here, or whatever whatever department you're in, like church movie night, whatever other event, they are seeking her input on, are we being welcoming to families impacted by disability? So I love that. We should not be like in a silo. Okay, so when we do events, they're going to be good for our families, but when everybody else does it, good luck. Like, I love that the church is taking her expertise, her knowledge of what would work for families impacted by disability and just building it into your church-wide events. So cool. Secondly, okay, I wrote down the word encouragement. I think what I meant to say here was setting, okay, yeah. So in your family room, cry room, fragrance-free room, it's like okay to have the wiggles and to move around and that kind of thing. So I think a huge part of what I consider a sensory-friendly service is when from the pulpit or from the main stage or whatever, it is said, it's okay if you need to get up and move around. It's okay if your loved one vocalizes. It's okay if you or your loved one needs to twirl during, when we're doing worship music. it's just setting the environment, the expectation that we all belong here and we all not just deserve to worship, but like are called to worship, and it might look different for different people. So yeah, I love that. All right, Tina, and then Lauren, we'll get back to your question that's in the chat.
We do not have something every Sunday. We just did our very first sensory-friendly worship night in November, and it was amazing. We had probably 200 people there, and an ASL interpreter, you know, music down, lights up, bean bags for the kids, music, you know, noisemakers, and it was amazing. But I don't think we'll ever get to every Sunday. That would be a dream, but you know, our worship team, you know, it's like a concert pretty much,
Okay.
you know, and so yeah, I think they wanted inviting for the younger people, and so they like it to be like a concert, you know, and so I just don't see that ever happening, but maybe one day.
Talk to me about your sensory friendly service. Did it draw people from the community, from like the people that are already attending your church, young, old, like what?
Both, all over. It was amazing. We teamed up with another church for the worship. My son actually leads worship at another church, so we kind of teamed up. But I have a testimony from my mom I would like to read if we have time.
Yeah, please.
So on Tuesdays on our social media, we do Testimony Tuesday, where I have families or volunteers just write a little testimony. And this was about the worship night. Let me put my glasses on. She said, I'm part of a fairly large online community for my son's diagnosis. We made fast and best friends with people from around the world, many of whom I've yet to meet in person. It was one of those friends who suggested I look into finding a local Facebook group for special needs families. Entering me finding North Point's Limitless Disability Ministry, I clicked interest on one of their events and promptly forgot. About a week before the sensory-friendly worship night, I received a message asking if we were going to attend. And after some back and forth conversation, I find out that my in-person BFF is Roundabout involved. So I had contacted everybody that said interested on our Facebook event, and just, you know, asked if they were still interested and if they were coming. And this lady, I don't know her, or I didn't know her. She's like, I don't think so. It's just really hard with my son. We never get out. So she ended up coming. She said, we haven't been to church in years, in caps, like decades, because different isn't always acceptable, especially in an everyone needs to be quiet church setting. This was not that. This was an evening where all my trepidation subsided the second we walked to the doors. This is a place where smiles abound, a place where instead of shh was whispered, voices, sounds, squeals were encouraged, a place where the Wiggles didn't afford you looks of disgust or why you can't get your child to conform. It was a place where everyone was different, yet no one was different. Not only did I feel this, but Johnny did too. You may ask how I know that. How do I know that my non-speaking child knew? Every single day since we went, he has been asking me to go to church. Was it the music, the acceptance, the love of God and God's people? One of those things, all of those things, I'm not sure. But what I'm sure of is that if church and the world loved like that night all the time, this world would be a much better place. Better for Johnny, for me, for everyone. So here it is in black and white for all the internet to read. My short-term hope is that these nights continue to happen. My long-term hope is that these nights are no longer needed because the church and its people will accept everyone for who they are and where they are on their journey. Until that day, I'm grateful that I clicked that interest button, and I'm grateful that I opened and responded to that message. I'm grateful that the people in our community saw a need and are working hard to fill that need. We look forward to the next time we get to I Want Church, because on his communication device, he put I Want Church. So this is a picture of them.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah,
so I'm gonna find that on your social media because I need to read that again and again and again and share it.
right.
But yes, I'm looking in the chat right now. Yes, Christina, I'm crying too, and so I'm
I know.
my camera's on, my mic's on, but
Yeah.
wow, that's amazing, and I feel like that's just kind of a mic drop. Like, okay, this is why.
Right.
Like, if we could share that,
Yeah.
yeah, wow,
So
thank
I
you
made
so
sure
much.
all our pastors saw that because
Yes,
that is why.
absolutely. If you'd be willing to share that social media
Yeah.
page, we'll make sure to get it linked in the show notes, like when we post
Okay.
this recording, because I know
Mhm.
everybody that's on here now and that will be listening down the road, because people do listen to these each month. Sorry, now I need to clean up. Yes, they'll want to check it out. So
Sorry, didn't mean to make you cry.
yeah, way to go, North Point. That's pretty amazing.
Where's North Point?
We are in Fresno, California.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing
Can
that.
I
Yeah,
ask
you're
the
welcome.
denomination?
We're a Baptist.
Good, good.
Fantastic. So, Lauren, does that kind of answer your question of what a sensory friendly service might look like? If not, feel free to unmute or put in the chat. I'm just looking through the chat right now. Okay, Beth, I don't think we've shared this yet. Okay, so Beth B shared, during the scripture reading and sermon, pop-out church happens. Those that want this can go to oh, sorry, wrong Beth. Okay, Lauren, you were asking Beth about pop-out church. Okay, here we go. I thought it was me. During the scripture reading and sermon, pop-out church happens. Those that want this can go to another location in the church, and the scripture and sermon is presented at a preschool level along with music and movement. Right now it's geared towards children, but anyone who wants/needs this is welcome. Then they come back to the sanctuary for the closing hymn. Okay. All right, and then Tina did share, so the social media handle is at Limitless NPCC. So on Instagram, and North Point Limitless Disability Ministry on Facebook. So I can see Catherine's probably already checking it out to share. Yeah. Okay. Great. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Well, not that anybody wants to follow that, but who can follow? What else do we want to talk about? I'll share about a service that that my church did for Christmas Eve. So we did we called it a sensory friendly Christmas Eve service. So it was basically pretty much the same, kind of the same format as our family service. So it was geared towards kids. But we had it in a different, we didn't have it in the main sanctuary. We had it in a more intimate setting. We had couches and bean bags. We didn't have a full band or anything like that. But the format we did, so it was a little bit of teaching. It was a hands-on activity and then a song. And then we repeated that 6 times or something like that. And so one of the pastors and I would do the teaching part. So the actual scripture and the story, and then just a few minutes. And then everybody that came got a bag of things. So when we talked about, that the Christmas story actually starts with creation, we had given everybody one of those squishy balls that looks like the earth. And so we would squeeze it, and I would talk about creation, and they would, squeeze it. And then other things that were in there, we had worship scarves. What else? We had when we talked about the actual kind of nativity, and Jesus was placed in the manger, that kind of thing. We had stickers, and they could put the stickers as they listened to the story on the bag. So it was just a hands-on to kind of help the kinesthetic learners and just really engage people. And it was lovely. It was just such a beautiful time. And I'm not prepared to read it, but we did get some written feedback from families that it was like, yes, that was worth doing. We need to do this again. Not just like that the teaching was tailored, was a little different, but the environment was so relaxed. It was so comfortable, and everybody felt that. And, you know, we had people that don't come to our church that came, half the people don't attend here. And, there were vocalizing and movement, and it was fine. Like, it was beautiful and just an amazing experience. And so that is definitely something I would like to do again. So. What else? Yes, Josh.
Yeah, sorry. So recently we kind of restructured our worship service. It's a totally separate service. And you won't be able to see, which I know a lot of churches are getting away from, but there's bulletin. And on the front, it looks like a chart, like a spreadsheet. On the left, the from vertical habits.
Yeah, I'm having trouble with your audio. Is it
shows kind of what we're doing. Things on the right hand side. My computer just zapped out. Am I still here?
Yeah, I see you now. I'm having try again. Is your audio better? I wasn't able to hear. I don't know if it was me or you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, now we can.
Okay. Yeah, it might have been me. My whole Zoom thing just disappeared. So I'll start over real quickly. We have this kids bulletin. You can't see it there, but on the left-hand side, we have icons for every element in the service that we have. They're vertical habits. Barb Newman's idea of using those. And then on the right-hand side, it's actually what we're doing. Song, the title, the Apostles' Creed, video. We started testimonies, prayers, a lot of interactive. We actually have them come up front so they can, move. It's very interactive, moving. We cut out all games because those certain kids couldn't regulate after that. And that was a lesson learned there. We also instituted journals for the tactile kids. And so we just have all these in a bulletin, like no times listed, because we'd have some meltdowns. Hey, it's time, and then in the middle we've got the Apostles' Creed and the journal. Can't see it, but so that's really helped kind of transform our time. And we're kind of use this as a template for a upcoming when I say start a new service. So I have total charge of youth. So we have youth already at 6:30 on Sunday nights. We're transitioning that into a youth worship service using universal design, but the lights, the sound, lots of things we just mentioned will happen there. We'll have candle lighting, which my 15-year-old autistic daughter wants to do. She's like, can I do that? She's really excited about it. Yeah, just a lot planning for movement, not just allowing it, but actually encouraging movement. We do have a lady here who's a sign language interpreter, and I've talked to her about kind of forgetting during the 11 o'clock adult service and being selfish and say, hey, can you come do ours? And it's just we planned it out 35 minutes. We're gonna just do our own thing and actually follow a lectionary. And then on Sermon for Kids, there was a short object lesson. I actually have the youth do it. So the youth will lead all this. I won't do much at all. So just get them involved, get them moving, give them aesthetic, tactile, not a lot of spoken words. So it's kind of what we're going for.
I love it. I love it. So I love that you're like putting things in place that work for different kinds of learners, and the whole universal design idea. Our children's ministry also has taken like, we tend to use board maker icons for everything because I'm obsessed, but now our children's ministry team is using those as well. So, and they're using like our visual schedules. Children's ministry team is now using those as well. So those are things that just like work well for all kids. And so I love that. And yeah, great information. And I am so excited that you're coming to Cleveland in April for Disability in the Church 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you sign up when we open up registration next week, because Josh is one of our speakers, as are several people on this call. So yay.
I need to add, I'm not the expert in the room, just starting on this journey.
Well,
but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're all in this together, and this
Yep.
is why these roundtables are so great, because we all have fantastic questions, you know, experience, personal experience, whatever, and always learn so much every single week. I mean month, from you guys. Let's see. Danielle's asking, Tina, would you be willing to share what teaching time looks like in your service?
I started a private chat with her. She's gonna send it to me.
Oh,
We're done
okay.
talking because we were going back and forth and I'm like, we're missing the conversation. Sorry.
Is there anything you want to share now though?
We just had our senior pastor speak at this last one just briefly because it was our first one. And I like the tips that I've gotten, you know, more visuals, keep it shorter. So he just basically talked about, you know, leaning into God in the tough times. So we just, you know, made it more towards the disability community and what they go through. But so we're doing another one in March. So we'll see. I'll use some of these tips for the speaker. So.
Okay. I shared on the podcast, but in November, our church did a all church worship service that was a sensory friendly service. So this one was in the main sanctuary, you know, all ages, open to the community, but mostly people from our church came. But it brought in not just like the crowd that would normally come in if we're doing something sensory friendly, but it brought others who normally don't look for sensory friendly from our congregation. I'll brag on Ryan Wolf, who's not on this month, but he's usually on. Ryan Wolf from Ability Ministry he delivered the message and it was fantastic. But one of the things, it was on like being thankful. It was a story of the 10 lepers, and he you know, so he taught everybody the sign for thank you. And he said, anytime I say thank you, thankful, Thanksgiving, do the sign. Well, I mean, some of like the older members of the congregation who, you know, had just come because their small group leader suggested they come, they were so into it. Like it engaged our congregation like you wouldn't believe. And like people were like competitive about, you know, doing the thank you. And it was great. He did such a great job. But just like something little like that to engage people in a different way. I mean, people were interacting. They were engaged, all ages. And let me share that little tip with you there. What else? Anybody else? Oh, Tina, your hand is raised.
Oh. Yes, I loved that in the podcast, that sign language. That was awesome. I want to try that. I forgot to mention during our worship night, we had vendors. We had people with disabilities that have their own little business. They're selling their items. So that was a neat little touch. So people came a little bit early and could shop and get to know some other people. And that was nice. So just something extra.
Yeah. All right.
I have another question concerning noise abatement or sound. Do you hand out earbuds or earplugs or special headphones or those that would come to the service that need that? What do you do? Now, someone mentioned sunglasses, but what about for hearing?
Yeah, so let's do a show of hands. How many of you have headphones, like noise canceling headphones, available if people need it during a service? So I'm looking, and from what I can tell, it looks about, we have about or 20 people. We have about 10 of the 20 something people on here maybe come from churches who have that. So like I know our church has sensory bags that you can grab if you need one for the service. And I suppose the whole headphone idea goes two ways too. Do you also have, for folks that need a little boost in the volume, do you have those as well?
Interesting, yes.
So, and I know some churches, like that's more just a normal thing. Like I think of like my parents live in Florida, you know, where their age, like their church's demographic is very much their age, and that's just, they have like state of the art what's the word I'm looking for? They're not headphones, but they're
Earbuds.
Fires.
yeah, like where your like your hearing aid gets like is it T-coil? The hearing aid is just like, it's just an automatic
Oh, so like the Bluetooth and the hearing aid syncs to the.
yeah, but I mean, because like the whole, like that's the demographic, like a lot of the people have hearing aids, and so it works really well.
Is anybody able to put together specific products that have been used and that could be part of the handout or something for follow-up to this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we do have some like some PDFs, some ideas. We have some articles that, you know, that Key Ministry has done. So we will definitely include those links in the show notes, which you can always find at keyministry.org. And then there's actually a video roundtable page. Good idea. Let's see. Danielle and Audrey have hands raised, I think. Danielle.
Yep, sorry. So my coworker and Audrey and I are listening to the call together.
Oh, okay.
And we're on like the cusp of either adapting a current service style to make it more sensory friendly, or starting a new service outside of our regular service hours. And at the risk of sounding completely lazy, we would love any and all ideas. So like if there are people who have done this already, whether it's made a service more sensory friendly or started their own service, if there is anybody that wants to share those, either the order of service or the changes that you made. I mean, I've been taking notes based on what we've been talking about, but it would be great to have like documents to start with. And I think I heard you say, Beth, that and this is also, forgive me for being naive, if that exists already in the Key Ministry world, please tell me where to find it. We just like, it'd be great to have a place to start from, and we'll give you all the credit. It would just be great to have like some ideas to start with.
Yeah, so great. Yeah, we will we'll post what we have, and I won't post people's email addresses on the website, but if anybody wants to put their email address for Danielle to contact, or Danielle, if you want to put yours in there, I won't post that on the website, but just this group right now, feel free to put your contact info if you want to talk outside of this forum today. So I'm excited that you're doing that, and let us know how we can help you. Oh wait, I thought of something else. It escapes me again. Sorry. Lots going on in this mind right now. All right. Anybody else have a question or comment want to share? Does anybody else have kind of a next step that they want to take in this arena? All right. Okay. Well, thank you all for joining today. This is, again, like so encouraging and such great information, and I'm excited. I feel like we could have the same discussion maybe a year from now and have even more ideas to share and hear about more, happening at our churches. So I am going to encourage you to go to keyministry.org. Well, you all in your email this morning got a sneak peek at the conference information. We'll actually have it linked to our website later, but you all, if you check your email, you got the sneak peek. But we're so excited. So I really hope to see you all in Cleveland in April. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. And we will see you next month.
Thank you.